Continuing our look at Team Yankee French forces, today we focus on the AMX-10P Infantry Fighting Vehicle. France has some interesting and unique vehicles, many of which have been widely exported. Worth a look. This is the AMX-10P expansion blister for Gale Force 9's Tanks the Modern Age game. The plastic in here is the same as found in the Battlefront Team Yankee AMX-10P Transport Platoon box set. The AMX-10P Infantry Fighting Vehicle entered French service in the early 1970s. At this time, most modern infantries were designing and fielding infantry fighting vehicles to replace armoured personnel carriers. The AMX-10P replaced the AMX-VCI, an APC based on the AMX-13 light tank chassis. AMX-10P has a crew of 3, commander, gunner and driver. Troop capacity is 8 infantrymen. The vehicle has a distinctive slab-sided shape with a pointed and angled nose. It mounts a 20mm autocannon in a low-profile turret. Troops have 2 hatches on the hull roof and enter and exit via a ramp with doors at the rear. The AMX-10P is a popular export option with Greece, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Indonesia and Singapore amongst foreign operators. It's also available in a number of variants, including a mortar track, vehicles armed with anti-tank missiles and another with a 90mm gun. If we look at the back of the blister, you can see this kit comes on one sprue of dark green plastic. The expansion pack contains parts to build a single AMX-10P. The blister includes a card for the IFV as well as 2 hero cards, 2 crew cards and an upgrade card. The Team Yankee AMX-10P Transport Platoon box contains parts to build 5 vehicles as well as a tank commander sprue, a decal sheet and 2 unit cards. The back of the blister insert has the assembly instructions. The assembly looks straightforward with a low overall parts count for the kit. There are even some optional parts included. Let's look at the plastic. Each vehicle comes on a single sprue of dark green plastic. This section of the sprue contains the upper and lower hull parts and the low-profile turret. If we look at the hull, there's a lot of good detail here. There's strong engine deck detail as well as a closed driver's hatch with vision blocks. There are also vision blocks for the troop positions, 2 roof troop hatches and a moulded-on trim vane for amphibious operation. Again, this is all strongly moulded, well up to Battlefront's usual good standard. The second sprue section has the tracks and hull sides, side skirts and turret and gun parts. Battlefront have not only moulded the tracks as one piece, but moulded them directly onto the hull side parts. This simplifies construction significantly, but does mean you need to be careful to avoid gaps in the hull during assembly. Road wheel and track detail is good, and there are stowage straps moulded onto the hull sides. If we look at the rest of the sprue, there are 2 side skirts. These were regularly dismounted in service, so it's up to you if you prefer to fit them or not. The rest of the turret parts look fine, including an optional Milan launcher. Again, it's up to you if you choose to fit this or not. You can see there are minor mould lines on the main gun that will need cleanup, but not a deal breaker by any means. So these are the kit parts. It's a simple build and the kit looks well detailed. Let's look at using the AMX-10P in Team Yankee. There are 2 cards for it, one as a transport team and another as an artillery observation vehicle. The Observer is an independent tank team and gets the Observer and Scout rules. Observer gives a bonus for ranging in using their specialist plotting equipment and communications. Scout means the unit counts as gone to ground unless they shoot or assault. The transport teams don't get these rules. Instead, they get Milan mount and passengers too. Transport teams with the Milan mount rule may remove Milan teams from their passenger teams, mounting a Milan missile on one transport team for each Milan team removed. Obviously, this is limited to 1 Milan per transport vehicle. The passengers rule allows each AMX-10P to carry 2 infantry teams as passengers. AMX-10P is amphibious. It has a 3+ skill, but suffers from the 5+ morale and 4+ remount that's standard for French forces. Once they start taking fire or losses, expect them to be hard to remount or to break and run. They're hit on 4+, with 2 front armour and 1 for the top and side. Tactical move is a standard 10 inches or 25 centimetres with a cross of 3+. The 20mm gun has a range of 20 inches or 50 centimetres and a halted rate of fire of 3 and moving of 2. Anti-tank is 6 with a 5+ firepower. This can handle lightly armoured opponents, but expect them to bail more often than kill. The anti-helicopter is nice, giving at least a chance to engage attacking helicopters. The coaxial machine gun is pretty standard. The optional Milan gives a nice punch, but mounting it here means you lose a Milan team from the infantry, and you can't fire Milan in the main gun. You also can't fire missiles on the move. However, unlike infantry missile teams, tank teams can't be pinned. This means you can still fire Milan from a tank team that's under fire as long as it isn't bailed out. So the choice of mounting a Milan is to lose an infantry team and a potential gunshot for each vehicle-mounted missile, but be able to continue firing Milan even if pinned. Given the new artillery rules in 2nd edition Team Yankee and dubious French morale to rally pinned troops, this might be a trade-off worth making. French forces are outlined in the Free Nations sourcebook. AMX-30 tank squadrons can take a section of infantry mounted in AMX-10P as an option in place of a 4th tank platoon. AMX-10P are also the transport option in the Compagnie de Chasseurs, with up to 4 sections of mechanised infantry. 7 infantry and anti-tank teams with 4 AMX-10P are 7 points, while 5 infantry and AT teams and 3 carriers are 4 points. You can add 2 Milan missile teams and another AMX-10P for an additional 2 points. Despite being more vulnerable to artillery in the new rules, infantry are crucial to holding ground. The IFV transports help give them a bit more firepower and mobility. So that's the AMX-10P kit for French forces in Team Yankee and tanks the modern age. It's a simple, well-engineered kit that builds up easily into a nice model. It can work as an artillery observer, or you can field these as infantry transports. The 20mm gun with anti-helicopter option is a nice addition to an infantry team. You will have to weigh up the option of mounting Milan on the carriers, but with fragile French morale, having the missiles firing from under armour might be useful. I've never played French forces. Have you used the AMX-10P? How did they work for you? Maybe let us know in the comments below.